Hey everyone, it is Stove here and welcome back to another video. This time we are doing week number 14 of the NFL schedule, and obviously this Thursday night game will be on probably in about 8 or so minutes. Cowboys versus Lions. First things first, I do think the Lions are going to end up winning this game. I think it truly will be a back and forth game, and it'll actually end up being like who's going to set the other one up for success, pretty much, because the Lions defensively have had some struggles, and the Lions offensively has also had some inconsistency where they've had too much consistent things of running the ball way too much, and the defense is pretty much stopping them from doing that for a couple of drives, and then at the same time also passing way too much to where all like the defenses that they faced were like, yeah, we know exactly what they're gonna do, so and then they go ahead and defend it well. So, and also I think they've had some injuries here and there defensively and on the offensive line throughout the entire season. So they have been struggling here and there, but at the same time they've had a lot of success, just like the Cowboys. Cowboys, though, have grown more success just in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Just because they were able to understand that defensively they may have to give up some points in order to, keep themselves calm, keep themselves motivated to get back onto the field offensively, and to just drive down the field and act like they're still 0-0. So realistically, I think it really just depends on which team makes the last mistake. Whichever team makes the last mistake will end up losing. And I believe I already said that it will be pretty much a back and forth game. This game has also been dubbed for both of these teams. If either one of these teams pretty much lose, neither one of the team that loses will not go into the playoffs, or will have a very, very slim, tiny chance that they go into the playoffs. So I do believe that is the Lions, but the Cowboys can still surprise plenty of people, especially in Detroit. But with that being said, it also has a little bit more going for the Detroit Lions. If they go 8-5, they're also still technically chasing a divisional title as well as the Cowboys too. So yeah. And also, if the Cowboys do end up winning this game, they are, I believe, a game and a half or half a game. No, I think they're they're like half a game or a game and a half away from the Eagles, which the Eagles right now are like right up there in the playoffs. But also, if the Eagles fall back a few games, then the Cowboys would still be able to win the division, which puts them in seed number 4 more than likely. But I almost highly doubt that. But again, things can happen. Now you got the Bengals and the Bills. A lot of people do believe that the Bills will end the Cincinnati Bengals hype after Cincinnati did exactly what they needed to do defensively and offensively against the Baltimore Ravens, breaking tons of longing streaks, like having gotten 5 turnovers, haven't gotten 5 turnovers in almost 20 years. And then you also have like the amount of sacks that we had, that hasn't really happened in a few 2 to 3 years as well. I mean, defensively, we pulled out a lot of the stops, and I do believe we are able to do the same exact thing against the Bills, especially if the offensive tackles of both sides of the Baltimore of the Buffalo Bills offensive line do not come back, it will still show some struggle, even if like James Cook's run game completely turns on to a different thing. I think we can, if we could pressure Lamar Jackson to getting a few turnovers here and there, I believe we have that chance to do the same thing to Josh Allen, because even against other defenses like the Saints and the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, just teams that they shouldn't have struggled with offensively, the Bills have struggled with here and there, but have been able to kind of slowly but surely get further and further away from the opposing team. But with everybody and everyone and everything kind of going right the last game with Cincinnati being at Baltimore, we would have thought we had an even tougher game ahead of us. And that's why I feel like if we can beat Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, I have a funny feeling that we have more of a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills at their place more than a lot of people understand. Hell, that's one of the reasons why, even though Baltimore, goodness gracious, I see the B there and I want to say Baltimore, but the Buffalo Bills have a 5.5 point favorite and not say like a 10.5 favorite or something like that, because there is a chance and there could still be an upset during this game, and probably it's definitely the biggest game for us to beat the Bills and then go back home to have to face the Baltimore Ravens. So I do believe Cincinnati Bengals have a slight little thing. If their defense comes out and plays almost kind of exactly like how we played against Lamar Jackson, I think our offense should take care of the rest, and we should be able to beat the Buffalo Bills 27-24 or 27-26, something close like that. Seahawks versus Falcons. Obviously, the Falcons' defense has been struggling the last 2 to 3 weeks. Offensively, they've looked okay. Kirk Cousins has been the one trying to get things back going with this offense and with this team, especially since Michael Penix Jr. is injured and has been injured. Seahawks, though, defensively and offensively, I mean, if one side doesn't show up, the other side shows up and completely dominates. So truly, I do think the Seahawks are going to absolutely wipe the floor with the Falcons. And if the Falcons if their defense somehow clicks here and there and makes the Sam Darnold train slow down a little bit, I think even the run game is going to give a little bit of trouble to that Falcons defensive line. Okay, Browns and Tennessee Titans. I do think the Browns are going to end up beating the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward hasn't really looked too good passing-wise. He's had, I think, some solid games, probably 3 at most. Offensively, it just hasn't been a good thing for the Tennessee Titans. And I do believe the Browns have just a way better defense, especially in Cleveland. You would think that they want to stack up a couple of home wins just so that they get 4-9, and then they can be like, okay, well, I guess we can lose now and then just sit in the top 6 in the top 6 for the NFL draft this coming off season. But again, I do think the Browns' offense is slightly better than Tennessee Titans. I do believe the defense, either a little bit younger or just a lot more talented. I do believe the Browns can be able to take care of anything and everything that the Tennessee Titans may decide to throw at the Browns. Commanders versus Vikings. I do believe if Jaden Daniels does end up playing against the Washington Commanders, while playing with the Washington Commanders, I do believe it will end up being the Commanders winning this game. Vikings right now, I don't know whether it's JJ McCarthy coming back and playing, whether it's Browser, whoever they had playing last week. I think the Commanders should be able to take it, but the fact that they still give it a slight edge to Minnesota by 1.5 point favorite is kind of interesting to me. I don't know why they decide to do that, but maybe just because Jason Mason is starting to get back on the saddle again the last couple of weeks. And Justin Jefferson hopefully will be able to get over 1,000 receiving yards, but with all the stuff happening with his quarterbacks and the offensive line issue, I do believe that there is a slight chance Justin Jefferson may end up not being able to hit 1,000 yards. But I highly doubt it. Justin Jefferson, in general, is still an absolute athlete, still the star of the team. And that's not necessarily saying too much that's not saying too much because he is truly the only star on offense. But it's unfortunate that he does have less touchdowns in general than a lot of the other guys that have been playing this year. But so Commanders, I think, are going to end up taking the win against the Vikings, depending on who they have. But even JJ McCarthy coming back, he's even been struggling. But I think it will be a back and forth thing because Commanders have also been struggling on defense. Even with Jaden Daniels, there's been some struggles. Vikings defense can come out of nowhere and truly make it a very close game. Dolphins versus Jets. Obviously, the Jets had a solid win. Dolphins had a solid win. Both those two teams last week had 2 solid wins for them. Both of them in very close games, and I do believe that it will end up being the Dolphins winning against the Jets, especially if the Jets kind of want to just continue losing just so they take at least the top 3, maybe top 5 draft spot for this coming draft next offseason. And at the same time, Devon Achane has looked pretty solid all year, whether it's been him receiving the ball, him rushing the ball. I mean, as long as you make a hole for him, he's going to find some way to break out into 20, 30, 50 plus yards and truly make it the best he can. And that's why I feel like Miami is going to be beating the Jets, but at the same time, with Jets being in New Jersey, they are 2 for 5. Well, 2 out of 7 of their home games have been wins, so very much a lack thereof of wins regardless of where the Jets are at. But I do believe the Jets may have something up their sleeve to be able to probably not control Achane too much, but definitely control Tua Tagovailoa, like how some of these other defenses have been able to do it. And if Glenn Powell can find a way to do that, then it will end up being a close game, maybe even by another field goal or 2. But the good option for everybody is just to go with the Dolphins and maybe even push it up by like 6-point favorite, 7-point favorite maybe. But again, it's a divisional matchup. You don't know until you actually see it. Same with a matchup like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus New Orleans Saints. Obviously, you can always see some form of improvement from the New Orleans Saints, but when one good thing happens, at least 2 to 3 mistakes end up happening for that Saints team, and that's why they are in the pickle that they're in, not just because of some cap issues, but also not a lot of people wanting to be with the New Orleans Saints. But being 2-10 by week 14 is pretty demoralizing for a New Orleans team that really hasn't been able to do anything since Drew Brees left. But yeah, ow, sorry, I got my finger stuck. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I do think they could probably be able to get even more points than what they're favored at 8.5. So if you guys want, then definitely shoot that up a little bit more. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers have also been struggling even against some of the worst defenses. They haven't really been very good with a lot of different things, especially with their offensive line being back and forth, injured, not injured. Their defense also allowing quite a few points themselves. So they're kind of really in the middle offensively and defensively. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, started off okay. Actually, I think they started off great for where they wanted to be. But since the Panthers are right behind them in their division, trying to get not only a division title but a playoff spot, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers definitely need this win so they can clarify themselves for their division. But they'll also have to face, I think, 1 or 2 more divisional rivals throughout the rest of their season, and putting them as of 8-5 will definitely probably keep them in the playoff hopes and divisional hopes, because the Panthers do not play this week. So again, we'll see what happens. Colts versus Jaguars, another good divisional rivalry team. Lot of division rival matchups here, but Colts and Jaguars, one of the bigger ones. Jaguars are, I believe, number 1 in the division, with the Colts being right there by them. And I do believe the Indianapolis Colts are going to be able to beat the Jaguars. And with that being said, I think if the Colts defensively, it will be a little bit more of a struggle, especially since the Jaguars have Myers, Jabari Myers. I'm probably butchering his first name, but they have Myers. They have a couple of other guys that have come back from injury on offense, and even a couple of guys that have come back or trying to come back from on their defense. But the Colts, speaking of injuries, have also lost Sauce Gardner, so there's one key player on that defense that really they didn't supposedly need, but they got anyway, and now he's injured. So pretty much as long as the Colts try to get back some of their players before this game, maybe not at 100%, but definitely 90%, it's still something for the Indianapolis Colts. And Jonathan Taylor should be able to have a pretty solid game against this Jaguars defense. Jaguars have been giving up a lot of yards and a lot of points, in my opinion. Granted, they've had some good games defensively and offensively, but they're still one out of the 4 teams that were known for getting beat by the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, granted, is the Jaguars the same as they were at that time? Absolutely not. All of these teams are completely different from what they were at the beginning of their first 2 to 3 games. But still, Colts, I think, are going to have the upper hand with all these other great talented players on offense. Not to take away from Jaguars' talented offensive roster, but the defense, Colts, is way more better on paper, and just the way I've seen the intensity on these Colts defensive players could end up outshining the Jaguars entirely and make the Colts hopefully the undoubtedly AFC Division South team. Steelers versus Ravens, truly another head-to-head number 1 versus number 2, or tied, I guess, but number 1 versus number 2 AFC North division matchup. I think the Ravens are going to end up taking this one against the Steelers, but I think quite a few people kind of want the Steelers to win against the Ravens, just so by the time the Steelers win against the Ravens, us winning against the Ravens next week, hopefully, will end up taking the Ravens out completely, hopefully, and should be no problem. But I do think the Ravens beating the Steelers both times, and then the Ravens still losing against us, and hopefully the Ravens even losing one more time, whether it be against another divisional team that they still have to face, or have to face some other team that will end up beating them, and then we just gotta hope that actually happens. But realistically, both of these two teams defensively have given up a lot. On offense, they've also struggled, even though the Ravens have had a lot more injuries in the beginning of the season than the Steelers had. And the Steelers have pretty much just sat there and crumbled for really no reason at all, besides the fact that their play calling has been basically 65% of the reason why they lose. Now, the Ravens could take advantage of that, maybe even as they're getting better besides the Cincinnati Bengals game, they've been getting better these last 7 to 8 games, and little by little, they've gotten back almost all of their chess pieces. And with that being said, I hope the Ravens do win against the Steelers, and so that all the way down the line, the Steelers face the Ravens and somehow take the win there at Pittsburgh. But yeah, Ravens take that win for sure. I don't think a lot of people really care if I talk about the Raiders and Broncos. I do think the Broncos are just going to end up winning against the Raiders, and it could be it could end up being a very short and sweet game, and the Broncos would probably win like 18 or 19 to 10 or 18 or 19 to 7 or something like that. I do believe the Raiders can score at least one touchdown. I just don't think the Broncos. I think the Broncos could score a lot of points, but I don't think it'll be a back and forth battle unless both of these two teams are basically stopping themselves from getting 20 or more points. So either one of these two teams, well, the Broncos are definitely going to win, but the only way it's going to make it close is if the Raiders actually show up with their offense. Bears versus Packers, another solid divisional rival matchup. Packers, I think, bring a lot more to the table with both a passing game and a running game whenever it comes to offense. Bears, almost every time that they've won, either the running game has saved their ass or their defense has. So with that being said, I would have to give it to the Green Bay Packers. Now, granted, Caleb Williams can come out of nowhere and throw 300 passing yards and 2+ passing touchdowns with 0 interceptions, with like a 20 to 25 completion to incompletion thing. And that could possibly happen, but with the Packers defense the way it is, I think you will still have some solid running here and there. because the Packers have given up some rushing yards and a little bit of passing yards, but not too much. Maybe like in the first half, we'll see Chicago actually put something good on, but I think it'll end up being the Packers winning this game by less than a touchdown. But if it ends up becoming more, then the Packers are just showing, hey, we're big brother. Bears, you've had your fun. Now sit back down. But technically, I think even winning against the Bears, I don't believe the Packers are still going to be number one in their division. The Bears are literally just going to be sit down to seed number 2 or seed number 3, depending on what other stuff happens here. But yeah, Packers win that game at home. Rams versus Cardinals. I think the Cardinals definitely showed some good things against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They showed some good things against the Jacksonville Jaguars. All these teams who are predicted to make the playoffs, and I do think if the Panthers will be able to cause a struggle and even possibly win against the Rams, it could also happen with the Cardinals. But I do think even at home, the Rams still have way more of a shot winning this matchup than the Arizona Cardinals do. So Los Angeles Rams, you guys get your 10th win in the season schedule, and yeah, have fun with that one. Houston Texans versus Chiefs. I was thinking about doing Houston Texans just because I think the defense has truly saved the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud has gone back and forth. You've had Willie Marks and a couple of other guys on their run game be able to kind of strike with some urgency. Nico Collins has even done Nico Collins and some of these other guys. Dalton Schultz has been pretty solid this year as well. So, at the end of the day, I think you never want to count out the Chiefs at home, even though they lost very closely at home already. The last 5 out of 6 of their games at home have been wins, and it's been pretty solid going for them at home, and I think it will come as an upset, especially if the Chiefs' running game does exactly what they need to do. They put Isaiah Pacheco in there, they put Kareem Hunt in there, and then they have fun in that backfield. Patrick Mahomes scrambles a little bit, but not too much to get nearly his head cut off by so many of these fast D linemen that look like linebackers, which is crazy, mind you. I mean, you've seen the division line for Houston Texans is absolutely nuts. So that's why I feel like the Houston Texans can still be able to catch Patrick Mahomes, still be able to stop the run game and pressure Patrick Mahomes enough to almost make him have a bad game. But I do believe the Chiefs can still end up upsetting the Houston Texans by a few field goals here and there. So I'm going to still pick, and I'm still going with Kansas City Chiefs. Even though I don't want them making the playoffs, I am kind of interested in what happens in this game when you meet the number 1 defense and Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. Now you get to next week. On Monday, Eagles versus Chargers. This is going to be very good. 2 playoff contending teams on opposite conferences being able to show their worth. Both teams, in my opinion, have had struggles and inconsistencies on offense and on the defense. Granted, you also have Justin Herbert, who just injured himself, who got injured, really, last week during the game that they had. Justin Herbert even came back with a padded glove, which kind of at first made a little bit of difference with his playing, but then he was able to play pretty darn well, and luckily it obviously wasn't his throwing hand, because if it was, he wouldn't have came back, and Trey Lance, we would be talking about Trey Lance possibly trying to get it done at home against Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champs of last year. Now, speaking of that, you also have the possibility that Hampton, their rookie running back, possibly coming back off the IR. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know if he's splitting reps with Valid or Villid. I can't remember how to say his name too much, but obviously, if you guys have been watching this, you guys know I can't say names for shit. But realistically, I think if both running backs are able to play the game, Justin Herbert is even there to stay composed, stay driven, he will be able to make the Eagles defense very, very scared, in the sense of, with all of these wide receivers that they have, Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and their rookie tight end, who's had a pretty solid year for a rookie tight end, and their backfield possibly looking like having a duo running back situation, plus Justin Herbert being able to run a little bit, but I think he'll probably be a little bit more scared to run, a little bit more fearful to just tuck the ball, take the sack, or tuck the ball or try to move out of the pocket just to throw it to one of his guys downfield. Eagles, they've just been having some pretty weird things happen. A.J. Brown had a solid week last week, and I think you could possibly even say that Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both end up getting over 1,000 receiving yards this year. But with the somewhat of a downgrade year, that definitely a downgrade year from Saquon Barkley, and people pretty much knowing what the Eagles can do, and as long as they stop the consistency of the Eagles and turn it into inconsistency, make the Eagles force things that usually they don't force too much, and then at the same time be able to misdirect the Eagles defense, it will keep their heads spinning all the live long day. Now, I say this making it sound like I'm in favor of the Chargers winning, in which in case you would be wrong, because I am actually going a little bit for some brotherly love for the Philadelphia Eagles. I do think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to end up taking away Justin Herbert's ability to throw, and they're going to try to run it a little too much, whether or not they pressure Justin Herbert, causing him to throw a couple interceptions because of the injury, or he ends up tucking it, getting some sacks for the Eagles, and then being able to go 3 and out at least 3 or 4 plus times. I don't think the Chargers defense will be able to do the same, because the Eagles usually after a loss kind of comes back to a different team, regardless if they're the away team or the home team. Eagles are able to kind of just swoop around and just backhand the next opposing team that shows a threat to them and their playoff seeding. So anyway, that is pretty much all for today. Hopefully this is the video that you guys are seeing. Like I said before in my last video, if I haven't already, my computer has been a little finicky, so sometimes I have to record these multiple times, and I say pretty much almost the same stuff but a little bit differently throughout the entire time. But I do think you guys should like, subscribe, comment if you guys want to. But viewing these and getting these videos out some other places will certainly help, and I greatly appreciate you guys just being able to watch my videos. Give me some feedback if you want, and at the end of the night, hopefully the Lions get this win, because they're going to need it. Anyway, you guys have a fantastic night and peace.